have you here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, so let's get right to it. We'll start, though, not with your book, but with another book. Bob Woodward has dropped his book. Folks are talking about it. And what's interesting is that in his book, he is describing many things that you've also described, that really this place that is in utter chaos and a president, frankly, who is sort of being treated like a child and leading like one.
Yeah, one of the congressmen referred to the White House as an adult daycare. And I have to say that I wouldn't disagree. There were times that we walked into the Oval and we knew that we were not going to have a productive day because he was in a really bad mood or he saw something that triggered him. He certainly wasn't going to comprehend any of the policies, the briefs that we put in front of him. And so we would just scratch the morning and try in the afternoon. But that's how it was trying to work with this president.
And the fact you describe in your book him being barely literate, not wanting to read documents, having the reading comprehension, if you will, of an 8th or 9th grader.
Yeah, he can read, but reading and comprehension are two different things. And what we quickly realized is if we simplified all of the policies down to a one-pager, created bullets, and made it look appealing, then it would keep his attention long enough for him to get the basics. And so,
but surely as an adult, you're sitting there going, okay, this is the President of the United States. This is the most powerful person in the world, and you're having to handle this person like a middle schooler.
Yeah, but the thing that you think about are the consequences for not having him make those decisions. There are decisions in the White House that only one person in the entire country can make, and that's the president. And so we quickly realized that if he didn't make those decisions, things couldn't move forward. I realize now when Woodward talks about how Rob Porter would remove documents or move documents, why some of the documents had to be auto-pinned. Some things can be auto-pinned, but there were things that needed his signature that we would just wait and delay, which would delay funds, which would delay things going to the Hill, and would delay advancing our agenda.
So, looking at that, your thoughts about the anonymous post or column in the New York Times. Folks are saying that person, if they believe that way, they should just quit. Others say that they are doing a disservice to Trump. He's called it treason. How would you assess that particular, that person who wrote that piece?
I would say that it's very important to have adults in the room. It's important to have people who have had prior service in the government around him. We could all quit and protest. Who would be left to run the government? And a lot of that was what I processed while I was there. You can see that a lot of the administration officials battled with, do we stay and try to right the ship, or do we jump off the side of the ship and just leave it to crash into an iceberg? That's really what we were faced with. And I think that the person who's decided to remain, to stay and try to right the ship, you know, people are going to villainize them. I would say it takes courage to stay in that White House. It is one of the most toxic environments I've ever worked in.
So the question is, why did you even go along with the campaign, go work for him? In the book, you say, during the campaign, you said, he's not a racist, he's racial, and you base that upon how he treated you.
Yeah, 15 years.
Yet, you hear the comments, we hear the Access Hollywood tape, we see how the bullying tactics at rallies. We saw all of that. I've been using the hashtag, we tried to tell you, meaning black folks should try to tell everybody. 94% of black women, 85% of black men did not vote for this man. We tried to tell you. And so why did you, as somebody who was supporting Hillary Clinton, even go work for him and campaign for him and champion him to be president?
Oh my gosh, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble saying this, but I think you'll appreciate it. I had worked in the Clinton White House, and I hate to use this term, Roland, but I'm just going to use it because it's authentic. I had become desensitized to a president behaving badly because I was in the White House during the impeachment process for Clinton. That's not justifying it. I'm just being transparent. By the time I get to, the experience that I described with the Clintons, as you know, I worked for Ready for Hillary, trying to raise money for her. And what she did with Clinton and all of the black staffers who had been loyal, not hiring them, taking one staffer. By that point, I was disenchanted with the Clintons. And when Donald called and said he needed my help, I thought, what harm would there be to help my friend? And I did describe it clearly in the book as a friend helping a friend.
But did you also think he wasn't going to win? So it's like, what the hell?
I say that. I mean, it's true. I thought there's no way that Donald will beat George Bush, Ted Cruz, Ruby, all these people with tremendous amount of experience, donors, money, messaging, momentum, relationship with the media. I thought, I'll support my friend. We'll have a good time. Donald will go launch his Trump TV, which is what he was going to do if he didn't win.
And so during that, you got black folks who are calling you a sellout, calling you a traitor, who are blasting you, who are saying, how can you work for this man who started his career off being under investigation and being charged by HUD for not wanting to rent to black folks? How did you justify that when you had this whole set of...
Justify the name calling?
No, justify... Still work campaigning on his behalf, going to rallies, saying why he should be elected, why black folks should look forward to him being president.
Because I am of the school of politics that believes that we should have representation on all sides, that we should have someone in the Republican Party, we should have some in the Independent Party, Green Party, the Democratic Party. I do not believe that African Americans should give 100% support to the Democratic Party, or they will be taken for granted, right, exploited, and used. So let me ask the second part of your question. But did you believe
it? When you were saying that you believe it, or was it sort of, okay, this is what I got to do?
I was never a Republican. I always said I was a Trumplican, meaning I wanted my friend to win. That's the bottom line. I wanted Donald Trump to win. Now, when you start going back and assessing things that happened with his family, when his family was sued, like you said, for housing, when people started talking about Central Park 5, I had a chance to ask him face-to-face about those things, to listen to his justification.
What did he say?
The first thing, the housing thing, he said they sued my family's company, and they sued multiple companies at the time. It wasn't just a singular lawsuit on Trump. And he explained what happened. He said that he wasn't trying to block out African Americans. I had to take him at that. But Central Park 5, when he explained that to me, if you understood, which I didn't understand, that they had confessed, and so that was when Donald called for the death penalty. I'm justifying, just explaining what he said to me. He said once they confess, that's when he went after them.
But during the campaign, though, when first of all, after they had been exonerated, settlement paid, he was asked, he said, I still stand by it.
That was last year while we were in the White House.
He
stood by
not.
Even with DNA. And I said, are you crazy? There's DNA evidence that shows that they did not do this. And he still said, I believe they were guilty, which is when I came to realize that it wasn't just him processing the information wrong. There was something serious and wrong with Donald Trump.
Do you believe that he flat out, he says things, and part of his attitude is, I will never apologize. I will never backtrack. Yet he loves to demand apologies from other people.
Yeah, Donald Trump never apologizes. That is his MO. That is something that he is committed to in life, that he believes is a sign of weakness, so he will never, ever apologize. So which I think makes him look more weak. It doesn't make him look strong.
So you believe that excerpt in the Bob Woodward book where he says that was the worst effing speech he had to give when he had to criticize the white supremacists and neo-Nazis,
I saw it with my own eyes. When I went in there, I don't know if you remember, we tried to arrange a meeting with Tim Scott. Tim Scott came, and they thought that was enough for race reconciliation after Charlottesville, and I lost it.
Meeting with the one black United States
Meet the
Republican
one black,
Senator.
and he really didn't feel that he needed to do any more. He felt like Obama let down the country, which I thought was ridiculous, and not healing all the racial problems in the country in the 8 years that he had. And so I had to take him to task. Of course, I wanted to quit and protest. I was ticked off. And then I realized if I leave, there will be no one sitting here to keep this man in check from those impulses that are so dangerous for our country. And I looked to find one of the black Republicans who were begging to serve, who would be willing to take that position.
But they say you blocked him. Kay James has said you flat out blocked her. Michael Steele's, others. I mean, they say you were the biggest impediment.
But they
black
also
Republicans.
say I was weak and I didn't have any power. So you can't have it both ways. Roland, they can't say I was ineffective, I didn't do my job, and I didn't have any clout. And then in the same breath say I had the ability to keep hundreds of black Republicans from coming into the White House. I wasn't the head of presidential personnel. I wasn't the head of HR. But they want to assert that because the truth is the Republican Party has had a bad relationship with black Republicans since still. Remember, they had the black exodus. All the black Republicans quit. Reince Priebus ran against Michael Steele, accused him of stealing.
You say in your book that when you tried to have this meeting in Black History Month,
Reince took their names off. He went through and said, he gave me problems. Elroy Saylor gave me problems. Michael Still gave me problems. When I said, well, appoint Elroy to a position. He said,
Elroy Saylor.
Elroy Saylor.
Elroy Saylor, folks who don't, Chief of Staff to Congressman J.C. Watts.
He actually said that Elroy would never pass the background. He's got criminal stuff. I mean, this is the stuff that came out of Reince Priebus's mouth, not my mouth. And he had problems with Michael Still and some of the other black Republicans, but they want to pin it on me. The truth is, they had issues. They had a black exodus. All the black Republicans quit because they had beef with the party. That has nothing to do with me.
I want to talk about language. And you say, when he gave a speech, you said, I begged him not to say, what do we have to lose? And also, you people. And you said he never seemed to understand that. He didn't understand that you people and saying the blacks love me, that's a problem.
Yeah, he and other white men in the administration had problems with language and how they communicated with black people. It wasn't because they weren't told, because I corrected him again and again. But he says, well, it's not, I don't mean anything harm. That's just how I've been saying it for 50 years.
When he made his comment about shithole countries, Haiti was one of those countries. You went to Haiti for the inauguration of a new president, and you write, him saying, why did you choose that shitty country as your first foreign trip? You should have waited until the confirmations were done and gone to Scotland and played golf at Turnberry, of course, where he owns. And yet you say you had to remind him, dude, you
campaigned in Miami. We went down to repeatedly, over and over again. We made all these commitments, but not only that, I went down, I made commitments. I went to the country, made commitments to the president of Haiti. So when he started talking negatively about them, of course, those comments came out publicly. It was also my word on the line of saying we were going to do better by Haitians than what the Clintons did. But we didn't. We've let them down. We turned our back on them. And he stopped TPS protections for Haiti. That was one of the primary things that I was fighting for while I was in the administration.
So that was just for show. That was just him talking to a group. I'm going to help you.
No, I believe he wanted to. Once he got in, the Republicans around him shut him down, and they forced their agenda on him. And Donald Trump started to align himself with them. Remember, he wasn't.
But he hasn't changed, though. He hasn't. Even though he's now more in control. It's not like he's rescinded that Haiti decision. It's still in effect.
It is still in effect, and the same with El Salvador and several other countries. The problem is that because we've decided, and when I say we, black leadership has decided, we're not going to deal with them for 4 years, we'll just see what happens. The problem is they can make decisions about TPS and not get any pushback because no one's going in there to demand that they extend TPS because the conditions in Haiti have not improved for people to return. 40,000 Haitians back to Haiti would completely burden that economy that the president of Haiti is trying to rebuild.
You call Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller alleged racists, but then you go in on Jeff Sessions in his racial history. Do you believe that Jeff Sessions is a racist who does not like people of color?
Yes, absolutely.
And why?
Well, first of all, his track record. I mean, not only has he used words that are inappropriate towards African Americans, but the aggressive ways that he's dismantled civil rights protections in this Justice Department is just mind-blowing. This man has worked to make sure that not only where we talk about justice and civil rights and keeping our inner cities safe and giving the funding so that police and community relations be improved, he's rolled those back so that instead of them improving, they've actually deteriorated. And I would use Chicago as a prime example.
And with that, it's very interesting because this president often loves talking about Chicago.
He does.
Has not gone.
Refuses to go.
Refuses to go. If questioned, where's your plan? There is no plan.
Because he has a beef with Rahm Emanuel. It's really as simple as that. That's why also Puerto Rico's suffering, because he had an argument with the mayor of San Juan.
So damn the people.
These petty arguments are keeping people from getting the help that they need.
So you're saying that the reason for him saying he did a great job in Puerto Rico, we now know up to 3,000 folks died. I mean, just the numbers there are just incredible. More people who died there than died in 9/11. He still says we did a great job.
Yeah, because he thinks that if he says it, then so it's true. He just made a statement: "Don't believe what you see, only believe what you hear from me." And that's because he has this cult following, a cult of personality that will actually believe the things that are coming out of his mouth.
You talked about the work that you did and what you were and the black folks you were trying to help. One of the big issues, obviously, was HBCUs, and you took lots of fire for that. The presidents went there, the photo they took in the Oval Office, and do you believe that, based upon, again, what you've written here, that was the one area you were able to at least do something while you were there?
I did a lot with HBCUs. One example is getting year-round Pell Grants. The Obama administration decided to cut Pell Grants for the summer. As you know, HBCUs suffer during the summer without having the proper funding. Went to Mick Mulvaney and lobbied and fought for that. And that was one of the things I was most proud of. But also bringing the 100 HBCU students to Washington and allowing them to see government up close and personal firsthand. Mind you, I did that with no staff, Roland. Remember, Valerie Jarrett had 14 people working in her office. She had a fiefdom. I only had an assistant. And so I was able to accomplish these things, not to the great success that I wanted, because I just didn't have the resources, but to the best of my ability. Also
moving the HBCU initiative from Department of Education back into the White House, and I want to deal with Department of Education because you clearly have no love for Betsy DeVos. No. You accompanied her when she went to Bethune-Cookman and Howard University, and you write that they left you where they were supposed to travel somewhere, and they left early. She told you to call Uber?
She did. She did. We had just faced protesters, and people were very angry and very aggressive and wanted to get violent with us. And yet the next morning, she left early and said, well, just Uber over to the building. And I took an Uber, all right. I took it right to the airport and flew back to the White House.
And then you say you went to the White House and you tell Trump, which you refer to as DJT, you said he shook his head in disgust. He said she is Ditzy DeVos.
Mm-hmm. Because
that's what he calls her?
Yes, he calls her Ditzy DeVos. First of all, he has nicknames for everybody, derogatory nicknames. And he said he was going to get rid of her because he had basically cut a deal for her to serve because of the amount of money that she and her family have raised to support his efforts and his campaign as well as his inauguration.
But about her, you say the depth and breadth of her ignorance is a travesty for the children. I can tell you after years sitting in those meetings and observing her that she's woefully inadequate and not equipped for her job. And then you said she does not care about your children. Be afraid. Be very, very
Look
afraid.
Look at the decision she just made towards Howard University. Put them in a category that's going to put $108 million burden on an institution that was already struggling. Put them in a classification that's equivalent to a beauty school. I think that was something that she did being malicious because she wanted to send a message and because she does not understand the historical contributions that HBCUs made to this country.
I said earlier during the campaign you said he's not racist, he's racial. You've now changed your opinion. What caused the change for you to say, no, Donald Trump is racist?
Oh, well, first of all, hearing the tape of him using the N-word, that's number one, most profoundly.
So you've actually heard the tape of him using the N-word?
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you that I feel that I put myself out there. Hundreds of interviews, you saw them, saying, this is my friend, he's done so much, he's not racist, over and over and over again, only to find out that he absolutely doesn't give a damn about African Americans or the community. And in fact, he speaks that way, calls us names, and thinks that we're beneath him. That, to me, putting myself out there over and over and over again is probably one of my greatest regrets.
So by working on this campaign and then going to the White House, you saw a side of him that you had not seen in the 14 previous years?
Within the first week. Within the first week, when they passed the travel ban, they called it a travel ban, but you and I know it was a Muslim ban. And I went to them to explain, him and Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon, and said, this is a ban towards people of color. And they're like, what? I'm like, 90% of Muslims are people of color. You are banning people of color from coming to the country. And they're like, you can't look at it that way. They're coming from dangerous countries. And I said, this is absolutely ridiculous. And that was the first sign that this administration was going to try to harm people of color through their policies, decisions, and actions.
We talked about it on my show, the number of people who have been removed from this administration who've made racist comments, whether on radio, whether on print. Why do you think folks who are racist are very comfortable in this administration?
They're very comfortable because there is a dog whistle that goes out to let them know it's now safe to say whatever you want to say. Things that used to be said in private and behind the scenes are now openly stated. And then when they get busted, they say, oh, we didn't know that that was harmful. Like saying, don't monkey this up with
Ron DeSantis in Florida.
Yeah, he said, oh, I didn't know that was a racial statement. That's absolutely not true. Donald Trump has set an environment that's conducive for these folks to show their true colors. And their true colors are that they do not care about people of color, and they are not trying to advance any agenda that will build unity in this country.
You're a person of faith. What do you say to white evangelicals, white conservative evangelicals who say nothing, who, when he makes his comments, they do nothing? I've challenged Paula White, and I've said...
You personally challenged?
I challenged her in a commentary. I sent her an email. She said her comment was, when she gave it, she was talking to one of the television shows, and I blasted her. She said the comments were taken out of context. She says, she and I will talk when she got back. I emailed her, and I said, okay, let's do it. And then as we've exchanged, I've texted her and exchanged emails. And my deal to her is, I want to sit down. I want her to come sit down with me, because for somebody who, frankly, has gained her popularity from preaching to black people, leading a diverse church, an African-American church there in Florida, I believe she owes black folks an explanation as someone who's leading his council. And so...
She is the leading deciding factor on faith in our administration. And, I talk in the book and wonder, why did he put her in a position where she could make these decisions? She literally would come into our office in the Office of Public Liaison and tell Ginny Corn and other staffers, this is what we're going to do with faith. But she let me carve out black faith just for myself. Meanwhile, she was making decisions for the evangelicals to advance their agenda.
So when you see them say nothing, you see them not even decry him when he makes the Charlottesville comment, are they, in essence, co-signing and saying, fine, as long as you give us right-wing conservative judges, you can do whatever you want?
They have made that agreement. In fact, in the ministers' meeting that we got blasted for having, I don't remember the...
Oh, no, I remember when Pastor Parsons couldn't answer any of my questions as to what was discussed in the meeting.
In the ministers' meeting, they basically made a pact that they would hand over their pulpits so that Donald Trump could advance his political agenda as long as he gave them what they wanted. Every single element of their evangelical agenda will be delivered in this administration.
You write in the book about not protecting, or need to protect yourself. We now know that you recorded meetings, a number of different things. When did you start that? Was there something where you said, you know what, I don't trust what's going on here, I need to get these folks on tape? Was it from the outset? Or was there something that actually happened where you said, I got to do this? Well,
let's just take, for example, the black Republicans who keep saying, I never wanted to meet with them, I never wanted to help them. If I didn't have those recordings of calls of them trying to get them to send candidates so that we could recruit them for positions in the agencies and the administration, people would believe that. If I didn't record General Kelly locking me in the Situation Room, threatening me, and telling me that things were going to get ugly for me, and that there could be damage to my reputation, no one would believe me. But that's so important, Roland.
But something has to precipitate that. So, I mean, when I was in Fort Worth, and I knew in Texas it was one-party consent, and if I got called into my editor's office, I could tell based upon the tone, I was like, you know what, I got my tape recorder, let's see how this goes. So was there something that precipitated that where you said, every meeting I go into, I got to record every meeting? Was there a conversation? Did something happen where you say, I better protect my back, and the way I'm going to do this is with a recording device?
If you've ever read the book, A Spook That Sat by the Door, you understand that as the only black person in the room, sometimes you're going to hear things that are so shocking that even if you repeat to people, they won't believe it. There were moments where I knew that if I did not cover my back, no one would believe it. More importantly, I would not be able to explain how the decisions were made, how Donald Trump came to the decision to separate parents from their children at the border, or where the genesis of that started. I can't go into much more detail. As you know, Donald Trump has decided to sick his legal team on me. I'm in the middle of an arbitration proceedings with him, but I will say I have no regrets about making those recordings and protecting myself, and we'll use that when we go into the court of law to demonstrate the corruption that I witnessed in the campaign as well as in the White House.
If we were at a dinner party and it was a group of black people, and folks said they named black folks who they could not stand, Clarence Thomas probably would be first, and your name will come up. How does it make you feel when black folks say, you can't invite her to a cookout. We don't want to see her. We don't want to talk to her. She's a traitor. The phrases they use to describe you are vile. How does it make you feel when black folks say that about you?
Well, first and foremost, let's acknowledge that all black people are not a monolith.
Right, right.
When you say black folks, that's not just one collective group, and we do not all participate in groupthink. So there is a large segment of African Americans who support me, who supported me when I was in, who sent encouragement, who do not reduce themselves to calling names and saying things about cookouts and that sort of thing, because I was the woman in the arena. There's this poem about being the person in the arena who knows victory or defeat, but what's worse is the person who doesn't put themselves out there, who's never fought. I'm a soldier. And so when people call me names and lob threats at me, the truth of the matter is, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And I've been in politics for 20 years. If you want to put yourself out there, you've got to be prepared to take the lumps and the bumps, and that's what I did. So if people want to call me names and judge me, that's fine, but I had to make sure that the community that I was meant to represent, that I was in there to represent, was represented when decisions about budget and taxation and housing and policing were made. And if that means that I'm going to be called names or people don't invite me to their cookout, so be it. I'm at the point where I will throw my own cookout because I've earned that through my experience, my education, and the ability to put myself out there and make a difference. And when you're making a difference, you're not going to have everybody agree with you. You're not going to be popular. So what? I put myself out there. I follow the path that God has outlined for me, and I stand firmly in what I did. And the regret that I have is that more African Americans don't get involved in the political process. And you know why they don't? Because they see what happened to me. The reason they're discouraged from running for office or getting into political office, because they see the names that I get called, how people treat me, how you get shunned, and they get discouraged. So I'm going to encourage people that we need you. We need them in the race. We need them involved. We need them in the fall, during the midterms. And don't get discouraged by the names of the people or the naysayers, the critics. They're always going to be there. But what we need are people who are brave enough to put themselves out there to be change agents for our community. We need that more than anything. April Ryan gave an interview. She has a book coming out where she says the Trump administration is trying to destroy her career. The two of you used to be friendly. Wasn't she a bridesmaid or something like that, or was supposed to be in your wedding? Something along those lines. And it is as if it's absolutely oil and water. Yeah. Do you believe this administration is trying to destroy her career? She early on said that you said there was a dossier on her, on me, Pastor Jamal Bryant. I called you immediately after that, which was ridiculous.
I don't give a damn. Almost like it's public. But that relationship, I take it, it's non-existent.
Let me just say, I have a tremendous amount of respect for her. You may not know this. I met April when I worked in the White House the first time, back in 1998, 99, when she first was starting and I was starting. So we came up through politics. And I'm glad that she wrote a book so she could tell her story. But I think it's important to understand that she had an incredible job to do in a White House that is not friendly to the press in general. They just don't like the press as a whole. And they have been aggressive to her. And I wish her nothing but luck. I don't hold grudges. I really don't. I have moved on. And, you know, the truth of the matter is, you know, she shared some story about me being drug out and all of that. I mean, obviously with me revealing the tape of the moment I walked in the Situation Room to the moment that I get back into my condo, none of that was true. But it's because she was misled and people used her. I think the White House leaked that to her to use her. And I regret that they did that to her because she has an incredible reputation. And I wish her nothing but the best. I truly hold nothing personal because she was just doing her job.
What's next?
What's next is that I am going to be on the front lines to, first of all, leading a resistance so that we can get this man out of office. One of the things that I did was help him get in, and I hope to commit the rest of my time to getting Donald Trump out of office.
And what does that mean? Does that mean you will, if he doesn't get indicted or if he doesn't get impeached or resigns, that mean that you will be out there, whoever runs against him? If a Republican runs against him, if I was the Democrats, that you will be campaigning against him?
Three tiers. One, voter registration is important. Two, educating voters so they can get out. But three, I mean, I think you know, I've talked about in the book that I participated and continue to cooperate with the Mueller investigation so that we can expose the corruption. And I will continue to do that. And I will continue to blow the whistle on the corruption that's happening. That's important. And that's a big part why I'm traveling the country and sharing this message of getting engaged, getting involved, and making sure that you're on the forefront of the change that we have to see.
All right. The book is Unhinged, an insider's account of the Trump White House. Omarosa Manigault Newman. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Roland.